On the topic of CIO innovations and trend. With me today is Brian Blackmar. He's on the panel of our Dallas Tech Execs Forum. Brian, tell us about yourself and your company.
Well, I'm an engineer, former IBM person, as you can tell by the white shirt. We are managed services providers. So in a facility like this, a hardened facility, a data center, we will run the operations for people that they need on a daily basis. 7 by 24, we'll be doing the tape backups, the PTF loads, the refreshes, all those things that have to happen along with having a good facility to work in. Now, our orientation is to have very high reliability on everything we do. Obviously, we're governed by contractual agreements. Service in the last couple of weeks was the impact of the flu pandemic, and on our international customers, of course, who don't live here and don't see things except by their news, very big concern about what would happen with our staff, how would this affect our operations. So we'll talk about that some.
Brian, what are some of the projects and efforts that you're facing these days?
Again, in a tight year, everybody's looking to save money. Everybody's trying to find a way to cut budgets. And some of that's involving changing their facilities, moving out of maybe large headquarter buildings, relocating to save some lease costs. And so a part of that is, again, trying to find a way to save money and do that through having someone else run things for them.
Today's topic on managing data is on managing data growth. What are some of your takeaways that you will be sharing today?
I want to talk a little bit about, the things that happen in the gradual growth of data, and that some of the other panelists will too. I also want to talk some about the impact of what I see coming with cloud computing. It's something that's going to affect all of us, already is affecting all of us, and data integrity and security is right at the heart of that whole issue.
All right, Brian, I'm really excited you're on the panel today. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, and it's going to be rough weather today, it looks like, so we'll all be in a nice, safe place.
Carlisle Ashcroft on the topic of CIO innovations and trends. I'm sitting here with Rose Klimovich, and she's on our panel today for the Dallas Tech Executives Forum. Rose, tell us about your company.
Well, I work at Techexecs, and Techexecs is a carrier-neutral co-location provider. What that really means is that we do two things. One is we have really excellent co-location facilities, so a good place to put your servers, your storage equipment, disaster recovery site. The other thing that we do is carrier-neutral. The idea there is that if you come to our facilities, there's normally a lot of different carriers you can use, and that's very good with respect to carrier choice, also getting you kind of cost perspective that you need, and also dealing with issues around disaster recovery with your carriers.
What are some of the takeaways you'll be sharing with us today?
Well, there's two things about that, I think. The first one is that data growth is really becoming rampant in our industry. You have video growing significantly. You have things like health medical records that are growing significantly, imaging growing significantly, and at the same time you have the government impinging on this, and that they're saying you need to keep emails for longer and things like that. What that's really doing is causing an explosion of data in the companies that we see as customers. So what we're really doing is helping them deal with that growth, and that really comes in two ways. The first is in the co-location facility itself. How do we give people really excellent service with respect to how they expand when they're doing storage and things of that sort? The other thing that we do is we really help people with things like cloud computing. Now, cloud computing and cloud storage is another way of offloading to some extent the kind of storage requirements that people have. And the third is really our healthcare IT initiative, which is really bringing together the different hospitals and things like that to help them exchange records between their companies.
Thank you so much. We're really excited that you're here today, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.
Thank you.
With me today is Joe Schaffner with Sybase. Joe, tell me about Sybase today.
Oh, great to be here, Carlisle. Sybase is commonly known as a database company, but we've actually evolved and do much more, and we're actually doing quite well. We had a record quarter in Q1 of all time, and we've diversified our business in a number of ways. In addition to the core database business, we're a leader in enterprise data mobility. We also have an analytics product that I'm going to talk about here today, which is growing at 150%. In addition, we've got into other areas, including risk analytics. So we've diversified our portfolio, and we're continuing to innovate, and we're doing quite well.
Wow, that's great, especially in today's economy. Today's topic is on managing data growth. What are some of the takeaways you'll be sharing with us today?
The key takeaway that I'm going to be focusing on is that we're in a time when there's a lot of things that are aligning. Everyone is experiencing data explosion. Everyone is dealing with scalability issues, pervasive analytics within their organizations, but also in the economic climate, they're having to do this in a more rudimentary fashion and have more involvement from an enterprise organizational level. So those three challenges are something that I'm going to address today's discussion.
He's on our Dallas Forum of Techexecs. Hi, Robert. Thank you for joining us. Today's topic is on managing data growth. What will be some of the takeaways you're taking from this today?
I think the biggest thing we have to look at is how do we manage not only the growth that we're seeing and tremendous amount of growth at 35% per year, but also how do we manage the data from a security perspective? In other words, what do we do to make sure that the data that we're putting in there remains we have the integrity built around that? How do we know that the data that we're putting in there falls within our guidelines for accountability, for data retention, and making sure that we manage that going forward?
From a securities perspective, what is your opinion on social networking?
I think social networking is a great tool. I use it myself. I've got my own LinkedIn account. But from a security perspective within an organization, we have to look at it from, how does it affect the organization? One, from a work productivity issue, and secondarily is what kind of information are people using in their profiles and in their accounts, and then setting up standards to regulate how people communicate within those environments. What's appropriate and what's not appropriate? Is it appropriate for me to talk about work issues, or is that something that I should more restrain to private conversations within the organization? Obviously, if I'm going to build a social network to talk about what I do as a professional, it's appropriate to talk about professional successes. But when it comes to the point of talking about gripes or concerns or areas that I'm not happy with in the company, we try to tend to dissuade people from doing that and instead keeping that inside the institution.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Robert, for joining us today, and we certainly look forward to your conversation on the panel today.
Thank you.